The rotor and blades can be thought of as the motor in your pneumatic sander. The kit consists of a new rotor and the blades. Over time, the blades will wear down. When this happens, the sander will lose power. The rotor will also wear as the blades rub against it. Replacing the rotor and blades is a repair that you can do yourself, and I'm going to show you how. I'll begin by removing the pad from the sander. You'll need a thin wrench to remove the pad, and the sander actually came with one. Insert the wrench between the pad and the shroud until it makes contact with the nut, and then you can unscrew the pad. Next, I'll remove the dust shroud. Now I'll remove the motor assembly from the housing. It's held in place with a cast ring. You'll notice that there's notches in the ring. You can put a screwdriver on one of those notches and then hit the screwdriver with a mallet to remove the ring. I'll use an Arbor press to remove the upper flange and bearing from the motor assembly. I'll insert the assembly into a bearing separator, tighten it up, now I can place this into the Arbor press, and I'll use a socket that has a diameter that's slightly smaller than that of the shaft. And now I can go ahead and press this apart. Now I can remove the rotor and blades from the shaft. And I'll install my new rotor, aligning the key with the keyway. And I'll insert the blades into the slots on the rotor. Now I can go ahead and reassemble the motor assembly. To reassemble the motor, I'll start by taking a look at the plastic cover. You'll notice that there's 2 pins on one side of the plastic cover, and those line up with the 2 pins on the lower flange of the motor. You'll notice on the sleeve, there's a large and a small vent hole. That small vent hole aligns with this tab on the cover. That'll help you to orient everything correctly as you put it back together. Make sure that the O-rings don't fall out of the cover. There's one on each side. Now I can align the hole on the upper flange with the pin on the cover. With it aligned, now I can go ahead and press this back together. Just to make sure I have that seated all the way down, I'm going to use a socket that has an inner diameter that's slightly larger than the shaft. I'll place that on that inner bearing race and press it one last time. And the motor's ready to be reinstalled. As I install the motor into the housing, you'll notice at the bottom of the housing there's a small groove. That groove is for this pin on the motor. You also notice there's a little indicator mark. If I line up the pin with the indicator mark, it'll slide right into the groove at the bottom. I'll place the locking collar over the counterweight, align the pin with the indicator, and slide it into the housing. Now I'll just screw the locking collar back in place. I'll finish up by reinstalling the dust shield and the pad. As you install the pad, make sure you get the fiber discs between the pad and the balancer shaft. The discs are there so that the pad doesn't get stuck to the balancer shaft. And now you know how to install a new rotor and blade set on your pneumatic sander.